The sky above the moon was dark, with no stars visible through the thick clouds of dust. Lightning flashed across the horizon as a small, damaged shuttle fell from the sky. Sparks flew, engines screamed, and then, crash! The shuttle skidded. Across the rocky surface, metal scraping against stone, until it finally stopped near a cliffside. Smoke rose from the wreck. Inside, 4 alien girls sat in silence, their faces pale with fear. They were Valari, tall, slim, with smooth teal skin and glowing violet eyes. They were young students, traveling back to their homeworld after a science trip. But now, they were stranded on an abandoned mining moon far from help. Are we alive?" asked Aelra, the oldest among them. Her voice shook, but she tried to stay calm. "Yes," whispered Sari, clutching her arm. "But we lost contact with the core system, and the engine. It's gone." Mira, the smallest, started crying softly. "No one's coming for us. We sent a distress signal, but no one answered." The 4th girl, Taya, stared out the broken window. No ships nearby. Nothing. Just dust and dead land. They were right. This moon was forgotten. Long ago, it was used to mine rare metals. But after the mines ran dry, everyone left. Only old machines and broken towers remained. Now the girls were stuck here with little oxygen, no weapons, and almost no hope. Hours passed. The emergency beacon kept sending signals into space. A merchant cruiser passed by once. The girls saw it on the radar, their hearts filled with hope. But it didn't stop. It scanned them and left. Why? Why won't anyone help?" Mira asked, her eyes red. "Because they're afraid," Aelra said quietly. "The pirates, we escaped them. But maybe others think they'll be targeted too." Taya clenched her fists. "So they just leave us here to die?" No one answered. They were all thinking the same thing. Far above the moon, deep in space, a small freighter was passing by. Old, rusty, and painted in dull gray colors, it didn't look like much. Its name was Dust Runner, and it was piloted by a human named Jace Marin. Jace was in his late 30s, with short black hair and a tired face. His ship was filled with old tools, spare parts, and empty coffee cups. He wasn't rich, and he didn't have fancy gear like the big traders, but he had sharp eyes and a heart that didn't forget what it meant to help. He leaned back in his chair, scanning the radar. Something flickered on the screen. A weak signal. "Huh," he muttered, sitting up. "Emergency beacon, low power, Old Valari code." He checked the coordinates. A dead mining moon. The route wasn't on any main trade line. Most people would have ignored it. Maybe it was a pirate trap, maybe a broken beacon. But Jace didn't move on. Instead, he sighed, turned the ship around, and set course for the signal. "Let's see who needs help this time," he said to himself. The girls sat inside the dark shuttle. Air was getting thin. The heaters were dying. Mira had stopped crying. She was too tired. Then suddenly, a loud beep came from the control panel. Something was entering the moon's orbit. Taya rushed to the scanner. "It's a ship," Sari gasped. "What kind? Is it pirates?" "No. It's a human freighter," Taya said. Her voice was confused. "One man on board." Aelra stood up slowly. "A human?" They had heard stories of humans. Wild, violent, greedy creatures. The Valari. High Council warned students to stay far from them. But now it seemed the only living soul who came to help was one of them. The girls looked at each other. Moments later, the human ship landed not far from the wreck. The airlock hissed, and a tall man in a brown jacket stepped out. He wore a helmet, with a cracked visor, and carried a tool bag. Jace walked carefully to the broken shuttle. He held up his hands. "Hello?" he called out. "Anyone inside?" The girls didn't answer at first. Then Aelra opened the hatch slightly and peeked out. Her violet eyes met his. "You're human," she said softly. Jace nodded. Yep, name's Jace. Got your distress signal. You came alone? I usually do, he said, smiling a little. You hurt? A few bruises, Aelra said. But Mira, she has trouble breathing. All right, Jace said, setting down his bag. Let me help. I have an extra oxygen tank and some thermal blankets. Aelra hesitated, then slowly opened the hatch. Inside the shuttle, Jace worked fast. He gave Mira fresh oxygen and checked the power systems. His hands moved like he had done this 100 times before. You know tech? Taya asked. Used to fix military gear. During the human-Reek wars, Jace replied. Now I fix old freighters. This kind of damage? I've seen worse. Sari watched him with wide eyes. Why are you helping us? Jace paused, then looked at her seriously. Because no one else did. The girls fell silent. They had never heard a human speak with such quiet honesty. By nightfall, the heaters were working again, and the air was clean. The girls had blankets, food, and light. Jace had even patched the comms to reach short-range space. You can't fly this thing anymore, he told them. Your engine's fried, but I can take you to the nearest Valari station. It's a few jumps away. You would do that? Aelra asked. Sure, Jace said. I've got some time, you don't. But the pirates and others. I've flown through worse, Jace said, grinning. Let them try. That night, the girls sat around a small lamp inside Jace's freighter. For the first time in days, they laughed. They listened to Jace tell stories about space haulers, asteroid beasts, and how humans use duct tape for everything. Aelra looked at him and thought, he's not what we were told. He's kind. And far above them, the stars finally appeared. Through the dust, but trouble was coming, and their journey had only just begun. The next morning, the 4 Valari girls stood outside their broken shuttle, watching as the human ship, Dust Runner, powered up. Aelra, Sari, Taya, and Mira stood close together. Their eyes were full of both worry and wonder. They had trusted a human, something no Valari school had ever told them to do. But Jace Marin had saved them when no one else did. He walked out of the cargo bay, wiping oil from his hands. She's ready, he said with a grin. Might not be fast, but she'll carry us through the jumps. Aelra stepped forward. Are you sure about this? We're strangers. You don't owe us anything. Jace shrugged. You were in trouble. That's enough for me. But why? Taya asked. Our people say humans are dangerous. Maybe some are, Jace admitted. But most are just trying to survive, like me. He looked at the stars. And you girls, you didn't deserve to be left behind. Inside the freighter, the girls found a strange but cozy space. The walls were old and scratched, and the chairs didn't match. But there was warmth here, and it smelled like old coffee and engine oil. Jace gave them food, simple but warm. He even played music on an old device. It was soft human music with calm tones and gentle voices. This ship is different, Mira whispered. It feels alive, Sari said. Messy too, Taya added with a smile. Aelra sat near Jace and looked at the ship's map. The nearest Valari station is across 3 sectors, she said. That's a long way. Yeah, Jace replied. And some of those sectors aren't friendly. He pointed to a red zone on the screen. This space here, run by warlords, pirates, smugglers, bounty hunters. But if we take a longer route, we'll run low on supplies. So we have no safe path? Aelra asked. Jace shook his head. Not really, but we'll make it work. The girls nodded. They trusted him now. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, the journey began. For the first time, the girls saw how humans lived in space. Jace showed them how to repair wires, how to check fuel lines, and how to fly using old controls. Taya loved the engine room. She followed Jace everywhere, asking questions. This is ancient tech, she said once, holding a loose bolt. "How does this even work?" Jace laughed. "Very carefully, and with a bit of luck." Sari helped in the kitchen, learning how to boil water and make something called noodles. Mira drew pictures of stars in her notebook. Aelra kept track of their journey and recorded everything in her journal. One night, during a quiet flight, Aelra asked Jace a question. "Why are you alone?" Jace sat back in his chair and looked at the stars. "I used to be in the human fleet," he said. "Served during the peace missions. Thought we were helping the galaxy." "What happened?" she asked. He sighed. "Some council mission went bad. A pirate group attacked a refugee station. We were told to stand down. Politics. I disobeyed orders. Saved lives. Got punished." He looked at her. "After that, I left. Bought this ship. Been flying solo ever since." Aelra nodded slowly. She could see the pain in his eyes, but she also saw the strength. "You didn't follow orders," she said, "but you followed your heart." Jace smiled. "Maybe that's why I stopped for you girls." A few days later, trouble found them. The ship was passing through a quiet system when an alert blared across the control panel. "Unidentified vessel approaching," the computer said. Jace quickly scanned the area. "It's a warlord ship. Big guns. Fast engines." "Do they know we're here?" Taya asked. "They will in 10 seconds. The girls froze. "They'll think we're smuggling," Jace muttered. "They love capturing small ships." He turned to the girls. "Get to the storage room. Hide under the false floor. Stay silent." "What about you?" Aelra asked. "I'll deal with them." The girls didn't argue. They ran. The warlord. Ship came close. A deep voice echoed through the comms. "This is the Blood Fang. Identify yourself or be fired upon." Jace pressed the button. "Name's Captain Marin. Independent freighter, no cargo, just passing through. Your ship is old. You may be hiding something." "Nope, just parts, tools, and a bad coffee machine." There was silence. "Prepare for inspection." Jace grinned. Of course. He activated a hidden program. A decoy signal began transmitting a fake engine failure code. Then, while the enemy scanned it, Jace launched a burst of static from his rear flares. Boom! The signal fried their scanner for 10 seconds. He jumped the ship into the nearby asteroid field. Inside the storage room, the girls felt the ship shake. "Are we being shot at?" Mira whispered. "No," Aelra said. "He's escaping." Moments later, the lights stopped flashing. The ship slowed. Jace opened the door. "All right, girls, you can come out now." They rushed forward. "You tricked them?" Sari asked. "Yep," he said proudly. "Old human trick. Signal overload and static flares." Taya blinked. "I didn't know humans used such weird methods." "Sometimes weird works," he replied. They laughed. But Aelra looked at the star map again. "That was only the first threat," she said. "We have 2 more sectors to cross." Jace nodded. "And I'll get you there. Promise." That night, Aelra added something new to her journal. "This human risked his life for us again. He smiles like nothing matters. But I can see the weight he carries. He doesn't ask for thanks, but I will never forget what he did." 2 days later, the girls finally saw the lights of the Valari border system on the long-range scanner. Their hearts lifted. Home was near. But back on the Valari main world, news had spread. The 4 girls had been reported missing. The council believed they had been taken by force, and someone had placed a bounty for their safe return. And now, bounty hunters were listening. The journey was not over. The danger was just beginning. The Dust Runner flew through the dark stretch of space between systems. Inside the small ship, the 4 Valari girls sat together, listening to Jace give them a quick safety lesson. "Rule number 1, Jace said, pointing to a red button. "You never press this. That's the emergency vent. It sucks everything out into space." Mira's eyes went wide. "Even us?" "Especially you," he said, smiling. The girls giggled nervously, but their smiles didn't last long. Aelra sat near the main console. staring at the screen. She had seen a news update, an open bounty for their return. The Valari Council believed they were kidnapped. The reward was high. Sari leaned over and whispered, "We have to tell him." Elra nodded. "Yes, he needs to know." Later, while Jace was checking the engines, Elra entered the control room. She waited until he finished tightening a valve, then spoke quietly. "Jace, there's something you need to see." He looked up, wiping sweat from his brow. "Yeah?" She showed him the transmission. The message was clear. Bounty alert, missing Valari citizens. Believed taken by human vessel, reward for safe return. Extreme caution advised. Jace stared at it for a moment. Then he let out a deep sigh. "Of course. I should have known." "We're sorry," Elra said. "They think you took us by force." Jace walked past her, sat in his chair, and rubbed his face. "This is why most people don't stop to help. No good deed goes unpunished." "But we'll explain everything once we arrive," Taya said, joining them. "They'll believe us." Jace didn't look convinced. "Maybe, but until then, every bounty hunter in this sector will be looking for this ship." The next day, Jace changed their course. Instead of the direct route, they took a side path through the Skarn Belt, a dangerous area filled with broken ships, old mining stations, and thick asteroid fields. "Most bounty hunters avoid this place," Jace said. "Too many places to crash. But I've flown it before." The ship shook as they entered the belt. Rocks floated in all directions, and warning alarms beeped constantly. "Doesn't feel safe," Mira whispered, holding on to her seat. "It's not," Jace said, "but it's better than being caught." Hours passed as Jace carefully guided the ship through the belt. The girls helped where they could. Taya tracked the asteroid movement. Sari cleaned the navigation screen. Aelra updated the map, and Mira helped Jace listen for any radio chatter. Suddenly, a ping echoed through the ship. Elra's eyes narrowed. "Someone just scanned us." "From where?" Jace asked. She pointed. "Behind the largest rock. Small. Ship. Fast." Jace flipped a switch. "Everyone hold on." The dust runner spun sharply to the left. A burst of plasma fire shot past them, barely missing the engine. "They're firing on us," Taya shouted. "Bounty hunter," Jace said calmly. "One-man ship. Looks like a Korth blaster." "You know that model?" Sari asked, shocked. "I used to fly one." He pushed the throttle. The ship dove into a narrow tunnel of broken metal, once part of an old mining station. The bounty hunter followed. Inside the narrow path, the chase began. Jace's hands moved quickly over the controls, dodging debris and sharp turns. The girls held on tightly. "We're not going to make it," Mira cried. "Yes, we are," Jace growled. "I've done this dance before." He led the hunter through a twisted loop, then a sudden upward turn. The enemy ship was faster, but not smarter. At the last moment, Jace released a magnetic mine from the cargo bay. It floated in the hunter's path and latched onto his hull. Boom! The explosion lit up the sky. The bounty hunter's ship spun out of control and slammed into a floating rock. "Got him!" Jace said, breathing hard. The girls stared at him in amazement. "You're crazy!" Sari whispered. "Sometimes that helps," he replied with a grin. After escaping the Skarn Belt, the ship finally reached the edge of Valari space. A large station appeared on the radar, Valari Border Station E9. "We made it," Taya said, tears in her eyes. "Almost," Jace said. "Let's hope they listen to you." As the ship approached the station, 2 Valari patrol ships flew out to meet them. Their weapons were armed. "This is Valari Border Patrol," a voice said. "Human ship, you are ordered to halt." Jace slowed the ship and opened the comms. "I have 4 Valari citizens aboard," he said. "They're alive and safe. You are under investigation for abduction. Prepare for boarding." The girls looked at each other. "We'll explain everything," Elra said. Inside the station, the girls were taken away by guards. Jace stood alone, hands cuffed behind his back. He didn't fight. He didn't shout. He just waited. An officer spoke to him coldly. "Your actions have caused panic. Our people believed they were dead." "They were stranded," Jace said. "I helped them." "We'll see what they say." In another room, the girls stood before the station council. They answered every question. They told the truth. They described the crash, the loneliness, the fear. They told how dozens of ships ignored them, but one human came to help. They explained how he gave them food, repaired their systems, protected them from bounty hunters, and guided them through dangerous space. At first, the council members didn't believe it. Then Aelra took out her journal. She had recorded everything: dates, times, Jace's words, the map, even drawings. And Mira's pictures showed the truth, the human who saved them when no one else did. Hours passed. Finally, the girls were allowed to see Jace again. He stood in a small room, still in cuffs. Aelra walked up to the officer and said, "Let him go." "He's not a kidnapper. He's a hero." The officer hesitated, then slowly nodded. Jace's cuffs were removed. He stretched his arms. "So, you told them the truth?" "Yes," Aelra said. "And now the galaxy will know it too." As the station lights dimmed, a new message began to spread across the networks. "Human freighter pilot saves Volari girls. Full story revealed. One human defies prejudice and fear to help the forgotten." The galaxy was listening, and change had just begun. News spread fast through the Volari systems. The story of the stranded girls, and the human who saved them, was everywhere. Holoscreens showed the drawings Mira made, clips from Aelra's journal, and photos of Jace's old freighter, Dust Runner. For many Volari citizens, it was the first time they saw a human not as a monster, but as a rescuer. At Volari Border Station E9, reporters gathered outside. Officials were flooded with questions. Everyone wanted to meet the man who had risked his life to bring the girls home, but Jace Marin didn't want to meet anyone. He sat in a quiet storage room, repairing a loose panel on his ship, his jacket covered in grease. Aelra found him there. "You're famous now?" she said with a small smile. Jace didn't look up. "That's not what I wanted." "We know," Aelra said, "but your story matters." He sighed and finally met her eyes. "They nearly arrested me." "Yes, but now they know the truth. You saved us." Jace stood up and wiped his hands. "So what happens now?" In the main hall, a tall Volari commander waited for him. Her name was Captain Silen, and she spoke with calm power. "Jace Marin," she said. "The council has reviewed the full report. The charges against you have been dropped." "Good," Jace said, nodding once. "You are free to leave," she continued. "But the High Council has also approved a reward." He raised an eyebrow. "A reward?" "A payment of 50,000 credits, plus official recognition from the Volari people." Jace laughed once, short and bitter. "I don't want your credits. I didn't do this for money." Captain Silen's face stayed serious. "Then what do you want?" He looked at the four girls, Aelra, Sari, Taya, and Mira. They were watching him from the side, silent and hopeful. "I just want to go back to my ship," Jace said. "Back to my life." The girls walked with him to the docking bay. They didn't want to say goodbye, but they knew he was ready to leave. "Are you sure you don't want to stay?" Sari asked softly. "This place is too clean for me," Jace joked. Mira looked up at him. "Will we see you again?" Jace smiled kindly. "Maybe. I go where I'm needed. Maybe one day someone else will need help." Aelra stepped forward and handed him her journal. "This is yours now. It holds the full story. The galaxy should hear it." He took the book, surprised. "You sure?" "Yes," she said. "We want others to know what kind of person you are." As Jace entered his ship, the girls stood together and watched him prepare for takeoff. The dust runner rattled and groaned as it powered up, just like always. Before the doors closed, he gave one last look back. He didn't say anything, but he raised his hand, and the girls waved. Back on the Valari capital world, the public reaction was growing fast. Debates started in schools and government halls. Are all humans dangerous? Did the council act too quickly? Why did no one else help those girls? A special message was sent from the High Council to human ambassadors, one of thanks. For the first time in years, Valari and human leaders exchanged peaceful words. Elra's journal was uploaded to the galactic net. Millions read it. She told the story simply but honestly, how a lone human came when no one else did, protected them, and never asked for anything. Many were touched. Some were angry, but all were curious. Meanwhile, Jace landed on a quiet moon near a repair station. He bought some parts, fixed the thrusters, and drank bad coffee in peace. A trader walked by and recognized his ship. "Hey, you that guy from the news?" the trader asked. Jace sighed. "Maybe." "You helped those Valari kids?" "Yeah." The trader paused, then said, "Not many would have done that." Jace just nodded and walked away. A few days later, Jace received a message. It was from Aelra. She had used a private channel. Her face appeared on the dusty screen. "Hello, Jace," she said, smiling. "I hope you're still flying free. We're back at school now. Things are different. The teachers talk about you during history lessons." She laughed softly. "Sari is writing a storybook. Mira is painting a mural of the Dust Runner. Taya wants to build a ship like yours." Jace leaned back in his chair, listening. "You changed more than you know," Aelra said. "Not just for us, but for our people." She paused, then added, "We'll never forget you. Stay safe wherever you are." The message ended. Jace stared at the screen for a long time, then he smiled. Far across the stars, change had begun. A group of alien engineers, inspired by Jace's actions, formed a new rescue group, open to all species, a Valari news channel, started a weekly story series. Voices of Humanity, showing stories of humans who helped others in small, quiet ways. And slowly, the fear began to fade. Not everywhere. Not all at once. But something had shifted. One person had made a difference. On another mining moon, years later, a small shuttle sent out a distress signal. Ships passed by, but one human freighter turned around. Months had passed since the day Jace Marin flew away from the Valari border station. His ship, Dust Runner, drifted once again through quiet lanes of forgotten space, with no set path and no plan. Jace liked it that way. He took small jobs fixing broken satellites, hauling scrap, and sometimes delivering supplies to lonely colonies. But no matter where he went, people seemed to recognize him now. At first, it annoyed him. Then he started to notice something else. They smiled. They shook his hand. And sometimes they told him he had given them hope. On one desert moon, a group of alien children ran up to him as he left a supply post. "You're the human who saved the Valari girls," one boy shouted. "My teacher told us the story," another girl said, holding a small handmade model of the Dust Runner. Jace smiled and crouched down. "Did your teacher also tell you I don't like being famous?" he asked playfully. The children laughed. A young girl pointed at him. "Is it true you flew through a pirate field and used a fake signal to escape?" Jace scratched his head. "Well, maybe." The children cheered. He waved goodbye as he walked back to his ship, feeling something warm grow in his chest. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Aelra's journal had become something greater than she expected. Her Words were translated into 15 languages and shared in hundreds of systems. Even worlds that once banned human books allowed this one. The title became well known, The Man Who Didn't Turn Away. In schools, it was used to teach compassion. In government halls, it was used to question old ideas. And in space lanes, more rescue beacons were answered, often by humans who had been inspired by the story. Elra herself was invited to speak at the Valari Peace Council. She stood before thousands and shared what she had learned, not just about humans, but about fear. For too long, she said, we judged without knowing. We believed without asking. But when we needed help, the one who answered wasn't someone we expected. She held up a small figure, Mira's sculpture of Jace, and said clearly, "Sometimes hope comes from where we least believe it will." The room gave her a standing ovation. Back on his ship, Jace listened to her speech through an old radio. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, listening silently. He didn't like speeches much, but her words felt honest. Real. He looked over at the shelf where he kept Aelra's journal. It was worn now, the pages bent from rereading. He picked it up again. Inside was a note Mira had written. "One day we'll help someone too, just like you helped us." Jace closed the book and smiled. One morning, the ship's alarm beeped softly. Another distress signal. Jace checked the screen. A small transport had lost power in an asteroid belt. Life support was low. He stared at the blinking signal. Then he stood up, stretched, and spoke to the empty ship. "Well, girl, let's go help them." This time, when Jace arrived, he found 3 different ships already there. One was a cargo vessel from Earth. The second was a Valari scout. The third, a merchant ship flown by a young Kroll engineer. All of them had answered the call. Jace blinked, surprised. He hailed them on the comms. "You all showed up?" The Kroll pilot replied, "Yes, heard the signal. Figured I'd help." "Isn't that what you humans do?" the Valari pilot added. "We were taught that one person can change everything, so here we are." Jace chuckled. "Looks like I'm not alone anymore." Together they pulled the stranded ship out of the belt. No payment, no reward, just teamwork. The rescued family thanked them again and again. As they flew away, the cargo pilot hailed Jace privately. "I followed your story," he said. "It changed how I see things. Thanks." Jace didn't know what to say, so he just nodded and closed the channel. Later that week, the Dust Runner docked at a quiet human colony on the edge of Valari space. It was peaceful. Just a few homes, farms, and one repair station. The place didn't seem special. But as Jace walked toward the station, he saw something on the wall. A mural. It showed a silver ship flying through a storm, with 4 Valari girls inside and a lone human pilot at the controls. Above it were the words, "He didn't turn away." Jace stared at it for a long time. Then someone spoke behind him. "Nice, isn't it?" He turned and saw a young woman with teal skin and soft violet eyes. It was Taya. "Taya?" he asked, surprised. She smiled. "I'm studying engineering now. Helping build rescue drones. I live here part-time." He looked around. "You built this?" Mira painted it. Elra helped design it. We all wanted something that reminded people that kindness still exists in the galaxy. Jace didn't know what to say. So she said it for him. "You saved us, Jace. But more than that, you gave others the courage to care." Later, they sat under the stars. Taya pointed upward. "See that one?" she said. "It's called the Wayfinder now. The council named it after your ship's journey." He smiled. "It's just a star." "No," she replied. "It's a reminder." They sat in silence. The stars above twinkled quietly, shining on a galaxy that had changed in small but powerful ways. Jace Marin was never given medals. He never joined governments or took riches, but his actions spread like light across the void, not because he was a hero, but because he was human, and when no one else cared, he did.